On today's news, Andrade is seemingly upset with AEW, Kevin Owens' WWE contract is expiring sooner than expected, Tempest review of NXT, and more. But would you look at that, we hit 810,000 subscribers. And where's Ollie to do his forward roll that he promised you? Nowhere to be found. This is why I'm your Jam That Champion and will be forever, because I never lie. So maybe get us to 815,000 and maybe I'll do something even more exciting. Subscribe.
Support WrestleTalk!
This past Sunday's All Out is being talked about as one of the greatest wrestling pay-per-views of all time, and rightfully so. Shock debuts, amazing matches, it had it all, as you can tell from mine and Ollie's childlike delight on our live reactions.
Oh my god.
Go! Adam Cole! Baby!
Look at him!
But it wasn't all smooth sailing for AEW in the lead up to the show, as the originally scheduled Andrade vs. Pac match had to be cancelled and moved to AEW Rampage instead, reportedly due to travel issues. While this seemed like a fairly reasonable workaround given the circumstance, it seems not everyone is happy with this scenario, including none other than Andrade himself. A fan tagged both Andrade and his fiancée Charlotte on Twitter, asking Charlotte why she let AEW put Andrade on Friday Night Heat, Rampage, to which Andrade liked the tweet. Firstly, I'm not sure how much influence Charlotte has over AEW's booking decisions. It's definitely none. And secondly, the reference Friday Night Heat is a little dig at WWF's Sunday Night Heat, a show that started off strong with big matches but quickly faded into the definitive B show of WWF's programming. By liking the tweet, it seems that Andrade may agree with the sentiment, perhaps thinking that a match the caliber of Andrade vs. Pac is more deserving of a pay-per-view stage than a Rampage stage. Rampage stage, Ram stage. Which is fair considering it was actually scheduled for All Out in the first place. Having said that, Rampage has been treated as a big deal thus far, with the Impact World title match between Kenny Omega and Christian Cage, and a little thing called CM Punk's return to wrestling after 7 years, both taking place on different episodes. What do you think? Do you think Andrade is right to be upset about being bumped to Rampage, or is he getting himself worked up over something that shouldn't be a big deal? Let me know in the comments, because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live. Also, Andrade to WWE confirmed. Ew. I felt kind of dirty saying that. It only works when it's to AEW confirmed. And speaking of person to AEW confirmed, after we saw the shock debut at All Out of Adam Cole, baby, a man who joined the company after his WWE contract expired, so he was able to walk in just 2 weeks after his last match in NXT, we might be seeing it happen all over again, but this time with a huge main roster star. Kevin Owens has been a bit directionless since his repeated Universal title matches against Roman Reigns at the tail end of last year and into the start of this year, having a brief rekindling of the Sami Zayn feud and kind of sort of being involved in the Intercontinental title scene. As of last week's SmackDown, he's now involved in a feud with Logan Paul, featuring Happy Corbin. But that all might be about to change. Thank you for being awesome pledge hammers on Patreon, Par for the Course, Zarjeth, and the Cyclone, Brandon Sires. You can get your own shout out by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. According to Fightful Select, Owens' WWE contract is due to expire in January 2022, which is much sooner than expected. Owens originally signed a 5-year extension on his contract in 2018, which would take him through to 2023, quick maths. However, according to the report, several contracts were restructured due to the pandemic, and as a result of these changes, Owens' contract was changed to expire in early 2022 instead. Fightful Select was not informed of any reason why this change was made or any other details of the situation. However, this will be different from the previous scenarios with Adam Cole and Pete Dunne, as WWE are actually aware when his contract expires this time, as opposed to both Cole and WWE being caught unaware that his contract had expired, which is still hilarious. And Owens seems to be acutely aware of the fact too, as he decided to fuel a little speculation of Kevin Owens to AEW confirmed himself. Taking to Twitter, Owens tweeted out the coordinates of Mount Rushmore, the actual monument to the founding fathers of America. But Mount Rushmore is coincidentally also the name of the faction comprised of Owens, the Young Bucks, and Adam Cole in PWG. Adding further to this, Owens then changed his location on Twitter to almost there, as now 3/4 of the faction are together in AEW. But will he make it 4 out of 4 once his contract expires? That's the real question. Owens then deleted the tweet, but has kept the location as almost there. Kevin Steen to AEW confirmed. When does it end, AEW? How many more names will join the company and everyone will be overjoyed about it? What's that? Oh, there's another one? Oh boy. Possibly the most shocking WWE release of this year was Bray Wyatt, who was let go from the company on July 31st. As such, his 90-day non-compete clause doesn't expire until October, but according to a report from Ringside News, so take this with a dangerously large pinch of salt, more like a handful of salt really, the current working plan is for Wyatt to end up in AEW. While there can't legally be a contract offered, reportedly there have been talks held between Wyatt and AEW. With his non-compete expiring at the end of October, AEW Full Gear, their next pay-per-view, would be right around the corner from it, as it is taking place on November 13th. There have also been reports that Impact Wrestling are very interested in securing Wyatt, so it remains to be seen where he'll actually end up. But someone who did end up in AEW was Bryan Danielson, who debuted about 2 minutes after Adam Cole did, because why the hell not, right? But for those who were expecting to hear the iconic return of da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da of the Final Countdown, his old indie theme song, they may have felt disappointed that Danielson instead debuted with a remixed version of Ride of the Valkyries. The reason for this has now been revealed, as Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio is reporting that Europe, the band that performed the Final Countdown, were asking for too much money for even AEW to afford. So instead, Danielson got a friend to put together the Ride of the Valkyries remix. This is in contrast to Ruby Soho, who was yet another debut at All Out, who managed to get the song Ruby Soho by Rancid. However, according to Meltzer, this was due to the guitarist of Rancid being a big pro wrestling fan and contacting Ruby after her release from WWE. So we didn't get the Final Countdown, but it wasn't for lack of trying, which is reassuring at least. And speaking of not trying, one of the more infamous things to happen in AEW's short tenure is a match between Ivelisse and Thunder Rosa on Dynamite, where Ivelisse seemingly seemed to just kinda stop caring about the match. It was all a bit of an awkward affair, and Ivelisse has now spoken to Chris Van Vliet about the situation, saying, "When the day came, she didn't want to do anything." I'm like, what? No, this match will be awesome, but I'm also trying to knock it out of the park. Even at the start with the slap, we went over that 1,000,000 times. We knew. She forgets what comes after. I had no choice but to nudge her face. That's when the shoot stuff happened. I've trained in MMA, you can't pull that on me. I just didn't want to allow that negativity. Ivelisse was released from AEW in April this year, reportedly due to issues with backstage coaches in AEW. However, following her release, she then blamed Thunder Rosa for tarnishing her reputation backstage. But moving back to the present day, after the success of All Out, WWE legend Mick Foley took to Facebook and posted a video titled WWE, We Have a Problem, in which he outlined how AEW has become the place that talent wants to be, not WWE. WWE is no longer the place for talent to aspire to. Part of it is because AEW is doing a great job of attracting great talent, proven talent, building other talent, creating storylines. But part of it is a problem of your own WWE's making. I think younger talent sees the way that developmental characters are cut or left by the wayside, or in the case of Karrion Kross, greatly watered down and even made a joke of when debuting on the main roster. Surely not, Viking Experience Karrion Kross Retribution. Mick continued by saying that if it was today, I'm not sure that I would trust the powers that be with my career in their hands. And until that changes, WWE, we got a problem. I feel like this can be summed up by the everlasting words of Jon Moxley on Talk is Jericho. Your creative process sucks, fix it. And you know, Foley's got a point. Or several good ones, actually. But regardless, let's talk about numbers, as the September 3rd episode of AEW Rampage drew an average of 696,000 viewers, which is down from the previous week's 722,000. In the 18 to 49 demographic, the show drew a 0.31 rating, which equates to about 397,000 viewers. Meanwhile, over in WWE, last Friday's SmackDown drew an average of 2.22 million viewers, which was headlined by Roman Reigns' Universal title defense against Finn Balor, with a 0.62 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. And now I'll hand over to Tempest for the NXT review, and you can check out a full podcast review of last night's episode later today on the WrestleTalk podcast channel with me and Tempest too. Take it away, my intangible brother.
So what have I missed? What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? Tempest the Wrestler is finally back after a week off with another review of NXT in about 5 minutes. Now, this was a very in-ring focused episode of NXT, and it started with a match between Kaylee Ray and Ember Moon. This was a very strong match and an excellent way to open up the show. They've given you a chance to get invested in Kaylee Ray and get to know her moveset, so when she has a match like this with Ember Moon, you know what to expect and know to expect a great match. This was given plenty of time too. They went about 15 minutes going back and forth as Kaylee Ray won with the Gory Bomb. Normally, I would point out that Ember Moon really hasn't done much in NXT and has lost another match, but that is the storyline that they're now portraying, as she did an interview backstage later on talking about how she has not been able to win a match since losing the NXT Women's Tag titles. As long as things are done for a reason, this gets a thumbs up. This honestly was a 5 out of 5 opening segment. We then had Indy Hartwell's bachelorette party, and man, I know this is a PG show, but these parties were lame. Candice LeRae invited a bunch of people that Indy Hartwell didn't like out to dinner because Indy has no friends. That's in kayfabe, mind you. She said that. Indy has no friends. They gave speeches, and Indy Hartwell managed to win over Candice LeRae, saying that she was a mentor for her when no one else was, and they went off by themselves to go and spy on Dexter Lumis's bachelor party. Ladies, if your bachelorette party is a dinner with a bunch of people that you don't like, you are doing it wrong. This segment accomplished what it set out to do, but they didn't really give you a whole lot in terms of entertainment here. It was fine, just didn't really do it for me. I'm gonna give this one a 2 out of 5. We then had a match between Carmelo Hayes and Santos Escobar. This was a really fun match as the guys have styles that blend very well together. They both wrestle a cruiserweight style, and it makes for a very exciting match. In the end, the ref was distracted as Elektra Lopez body slammed Carmelo Hayes on the outside before he got back in the ring and was hit with the Phantom Driver for the win. This was good stuff, but I do not understand the decision to have Carmelo Hayes lose a match after winning the NXT Breakout Tournament. Just don't do that. Don't beat people that are gonna get title matches. You don't have to do it, so don't do it. That being said, I will give this a 4 out of 5. This was excellent. Next up was the in-ring debut of Brutus and Julius Creed of the Diamond Mine. They faced 2 enhancement talons and really just ran through them, hitting body slams and uppercuts and having no trouble doing it, beating them in about 3 minutes. As a debut match, this was fine, but they have very generic presentation so far. There is time to still fix that. Obviously, this is the first week, but it is something to keep in mind going forward. This gets a 3 out of 5. We then got the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match as Io Shirai and Zoe Stark defended the titles against Kacy Catanzaro and Kaden Carter. Now, this match really worked for me. They went back and forth and tried to gain an advantage early, but couldn't, as both teams were able to flip and counter each other's offense. They kept this same energy throughout the match, but the part that didn't really work for me was the interplay between Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. They were still not on the same page, with Io Shirai not wanting Zoe Stark's help. But if you don't want help to win a tag team match, why did you bother to challenge for the tag team championship? You know that's kind of the gig here, right? In the end, Zoe Stark was able to hit her twist and go to sleep and then tag in Io Shirai to hit the moonsault for the win. This was a very good match, but I would like them to kind of think a little bit harder about why Io Shirai and Zoe Stark aren't working together. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. We then had Dexter Lumis's bachelor party, and why is there a zombie ref? Did the zombies kill a referee during the Miz versus Damian Priest match? Did we not know about that? Am I missing something here? I hope so. Anyway, Cameron Grimes shows up and says that he is going to pay for the entire bachelor party and the wedding, being the $1 million man that he is. He and Dexter shake hands, having gone through their feud last year. That is a good touch. I like that they acknowledged that. And then they went on basically a 12-year-old's birthday party. They went go-karting, axe throwing, and laser tagging? Is that laser tagging? They played laser tag. During the entire party, Dexter Lumis was working to win over Johnny Gargano, letting him win at go-karting, teaching him how to throw an axe, and then helping him win in laser tag. By the end, he did win over Gargano as they did the little way thing. They did this. For me, it looks like I'm praying, but you know what I'm talking about. That thing the way does. It may be a bit unbelievable that this serial killer looking man basically wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese for his bachelor party, but otherwise, I thought this segment was great. This is the exact kind of thing that I've been hoping to see from the Index storyline since the beginning, and we're only just now getting it. This gets a 5 out of 5, y'all. Yeah, I gave Index a 5 out of 5. Cherish it. We then had the in-ring debut of Mei Ying as she beat an enhancement talent in about 2 minutes, chopping her in the throat a bunch of times and then choking her out for the win. I don't know that you can do that. Since when could you just choke someone out? Like, come on, she just goozled her to death. You can't do that. There really wasn't much to this, and I'm not super into Mei Ying. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. And then we got the main event of the NXT Tag Team Championship match as MSK took on Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. I thought this was an excellent main event as Burch and Lorcan are one of the most underrated teams in all of pro wrestling, and they really brought out the best of MSK, in particular Wes Lee. I loved the intensity that he showed in this match. There was a lot of really fun offense in this match, and they actually made me believe that Burch and Lorcan were gonna win the tag titles. Oney Lorcan locked Nash Carter in an ankle lock while Danny Burch locked Wes Lee in a crossface, and I thought this was the finish until they reversed it and managed to hit MSK's finish for the win. Truly an excellent main event, and then afterwards Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland beat up Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. I guess this is the end of their faction. It had a short run, I'll be honest. I thought this was a very good main event segment, even though I would have liked to have seen the faction here stay together a little bit longer. This gets a 4 out of 5. This was a very good episode of NXT. There weren't any bad matches. There were a couple throwaway squashes, but they weren't bad by any means. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5. We'll see how next week goes. And that just about wraps it up from me. I do want to give a big thank you to all the fans that I met last week in Chicago. You guys were awesome and made this job even more worth it. That being said, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this week's NXT, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk podcast later on today, where myself and Chopper Pete will be breaking down the whole show in detail. Until then, I've been Tempest the Wrestler. Jam that jam.
I think we might be the bad guys in this story, everyone.
The fall of Kistopia will be remembered in the cosmic history books, or sort of like the cosmic lads mags, I guess.
Chap lips sink ships. Death to Kistopia.
We will kiss again.